Good morning. I hope you're having a great Monday. I'm super excited about what we're going to be learning this week. So you should have got an email today, and that's how you got to this tutorial right here, which is pretty cool. Dear students, welcome to Monday. The Japan-US alliance is an irreplaceable alliance, and I would like to further consolidate and broaden that alliance. Shinzo Abe, the current Japanese Prime Minister. So that's sort of like the president of Japan right now. And what he's saying is that Japan and the US are very strong allies. They always have been since World War II. After we defeated them in World War II, we actually helped to build their nation back up. When he says consolidate, that means to bring together power, and broaden, that means to make it wider. So he actually wants to bring together the power of both nations and then widen that alliance to make it even bigger. So Japan and the US working together. All right, hopefully you've already read your book silently, set a timer and read for 20 minutes. And then hopefully you also were able to read this introduction to Sandra Cisneros and then click on this interview right here to go to Facebook. And you don't have to be logged into Facebook or have a Facebook account. It should go straight to the video. Just make sure when you do it, you see this right here, that speaker is turned off. So you got to make sure you turn that speaker on. You got to click right there, okay? All right. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Pretty cool interview. Then, if that did not work, you can click on this link here. I think it'll work, but if it doesn't work, you can click on this link here, and then there's a little box right here, and you can watch it through that as well. Same exact interview. Okay. All right. Now we get to history. Today we start work on our Japan history 5-paragraph essay. We will write 1 paragraph each day and click on this link, which you did already, which is why you're listening to me now. Very cool. All right, and then we're going to go to Google Classroom and write the introduction. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So you're going to click on this, go to Google Classroom. And then you'll have all your classes, and you click on the class for me. I'm going to click on Test Class. Okay. And then I'm going to go to Classwork. And at the top of it should be Japan History Essay. Just click on that. And then it says, in a 5-paragraph essay with an introduction, 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion, you will answer the prompt in the document attached. Click on that. And then you're going to go ahead and put your name right up here. You should always put your name in there. So Miko Yokola. And put your period. I'll pretend I'm in period 8, 9, just for fun. That will be a lot of school. All right. A chance to show your knowledge, Japan History Essay. I want you to remember that a test or an essay is just a chance to show your knowledge. You just need to do your best. Enjoy it, show what you've learned, and you're learning right now. Here's the prompt, which is another way of saying question. Discuss the impact of isolation on Japanese culture in a 5-paragraph essay with an introduction, 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. We are just going to write our introduction today. So here's how you start an introduction. You need to have a hook, then background, then a claim thesis. Okay? Hook is where you grab the reader's attention. I'm going to teach you to do it by creating a scene with descriptive writing. Background is where you provide essential information about the topic. In this case, the topic is isolation of Japan and Japanese culture. So why were they isolated? How were they isolated? And then the claim thesis is your answer. So discuss the impact. So you want to talk about the impact that isolation had and answer this question in 1 sentence. All right? So this is all 1 paragraph. That's called your introduction. All right, so we're going to go ahead and I'm going to help you figure out how you're going to write your introduction now, because the introduction tells you what your 3 body paragraphs are going to be. You want to have that in your claim thesis. It should be clear what your 3 body paragraphs are going to be. So you want to do a hook. So what your hook should be is it should be something interesting from Japanese culture that is going to be in one of your 3 body paragraphs. So we have to do what's called planning first. Our planning is where we come up with an idea of what our 3 body paragraphs are going to be, you should know this before you start writing, are going to be, and what our thesis is going to be. Okay, so what is the impact of isolation on Japanese culture? You should say something about how isolation of Japan led to, so what did it lead to in their culture? As shown by, and then you want to talk about the 3 paragraphs. Okay, so what are your 3 things going to be? What are your 3 reasons going to be? You need to choose something that was around during medieval Japan. So if you did, a famous Japanese director from today, from one of your Kotowari assignments, you can't really use that. You need to use something from your Kotowari assignments that was around in medieval Japan, that sort of ancient Japanese culture that still survives in Japanese culture today. What might be some examples of things that were around a long time ago in Japan that are still around today that you did in your Kotowari assignments? Think about that. Okay? Now, let's say you did origami. That would be an example of something that you could have one of your paragraphs be about. Let's say you did something about samurai. You could have a paragraph about samurai culture if you learned about that. Let's say you did something around haiku. And that was around during the times of medieval Japan. You could do something about that. Now, if you did your 4 Kotowari assignments and you do not have 3 things that are about ancient Japan, let's say you researched, Japanese tourist destinations, then you need to look at those tourist destinations and see, is there anything in those tourist destinations that was from ancient Japan? So are there temples that have to do with the religions that were around in ancient Japan? You could use those as examples. Is there architecture? If you did like modern Japanese directors or actors or things like that, it's going to be very difficult for you to use those as reasons. You can't do that. If you have any problems, you can always email me what your 3 reasons are, and I'll give you feedback right away, like, yeah, those look good. Okay. Let's say, oopsies, that is not where we want to be. So let's say we've got our 3 reasons, but we don't have enough Kotowari. Well, if you can't get it from your Kotowari assignments, which you're already an expert about, you can go to your notes, because remember, you've taken a lot of notes, and you can look at your notes and see if there's anything you can use from there. Or if you wanted to, you could use the Living Treasures of Japan video that you saw, where there's all sorts of artists that you learned about with regard to like the pottery guy, the man who went into the forest and he made Japanese pottery. You could describe that pottery. You could also do the bunraku, which is the puppets and the amazing things that you learned from there. You would have to go back and make sure you remember those things, because you have to watch the video again and see what you can use. All right, so you've got your claim thesis right here. Isolation of Japan led to, and you want to answer that question, what was the impact of isolation on Japanese culture? How did it impact a culture? It made it very what? And then as shown by what 3 examples? Okay. There is a very specific word that I would put in here that we have talked a lot about, and hopefully it's kind of clear to you what it might be. If you want, again, you can check in with me about your thesis and see if it's a good one. All right, so we've got our thesis, we've got our reasons, and then we can go back and we can start our hook. All right, so our hook is where we create a scene with descriptive writing. So I'm going to choose something that I don't think any of you did, okay? And so let's say one of my reasons, let's say I'm going to fill this in, I'm going to do bell making, I'm going to do, let's see here, kabuki theater, and I'm going to do, let's say paper making. Okay, let's say those were the 3 body paragraphs I was going to do. I could make my hook be from the bell making, okay? So I'm going to say, imagine a clear, deep bell ringing in the forests of mountainous medieval Japan. Everyone in the village on this bright, clear morning knows that it is time to go to the Shinto temple and pray for good fortune. Okay, so I've got 2 sentences of a hook that sort of creates this scene. So you have to go and see, like, what are you gonna do? Like, let's say if you're doing kabuki, you could have a scene from a kabuki play, or if you have origami, then you could describe a person making origami and what that process looks like. Just something to get our attention that's really nice. Then we go to background, okay? That's where you provide essential information about the topic. This is where you're gonna answer this. We want to talk about the isolation. So isolation means, and you want to talk about what isolation means, okay? And that's going to go on for a little while. And then you want to talk about how Japan was isolated. The country of Japan, okay? And you want to talk a little bit about what the country of Japan is and why it was isolated. Explain why it's isolated. So what was it that caused the isolation? Okay, it's isolated blank, 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 and you fill that in. And that is the background information. And now you're ready to come back to your thesis, your claim thesis, and drop that in right there. Okay, so you need to go write an introduction with a hook, background, and a claim thesis that follows this structure. All right, and tomorrow we will go on to our first body paragraph. I will be using an example that has to do with bell making. All right, but you will be doing your first body paragraph on whatever it is that you choose. Have an awesome day.